Oh my God. Why does he never say something nice about? John, go ahead.
I've never seen her, but I'm sure that she is a wonderful lady.
Okay. And Chase, do you want to say something? Something nice?
What? I thought we were introing.
This is the Experience Podcast with me and someone else.
Whoops.
Hi.
All right, thank you both. That was a lot to take in from what you guys just said. So anyway, we have Chase and John back. They've probably been on together. I don't remember.
A lie.
I don't think we have.
You haven't? Okay. Well, maybe not.
Like,
It's been a while at the very least.
You, Chase? Well, if we have, yeah, it must have been ages ago.
Well, anyway, it's two big personalities, so the audience is expecting a lot tonight. So, what do you
Well,
both
I'm
have
happy to disappoint.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
egos will clash. Anyway, what you been up to, Chase?
Lots of personal shit. I don't know if you were here when I did this, but I quit my job early, like late last year, early this year. Kind of refocusing on me for a beat, kind of figuring out, because I ended up dealing with a whole lot of shit that came up from my past, and suffice to say on that front, basically dealt with that and am now kind of moving on. You know what I mean? But, moving on means job apps. It means, kind of figuring out what I'm doing as a career. It's kind of fairly day to day. I won't say mundane, but, it's
You probably should say mundane, right?
I could use, frankly,
yeah.
after some of the shit I've done recently, I could use mundane, but, we're getting there. And, in general, I think things are going to get a lot better for me and a lot better for everybody soon. I think we're coming out of a dark period in history in general. And that's just about my feelings on things. So, How about y'all?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, we'll get to John in a second. For our listeners and maybe John as well, there's probably a whole series of podcast episodes where we talk about Chase and his past and what he's going through, and even, I guess, well, I mean, today's an update as well, but what he's looking forward to in the future. So if you're interested, there's probably like 3 or 4, I want to say. I don't remember. Chase might remember better than I do. Where we really got in pretty deep on what's going on in Chase's life. I think one of them, at least one of them has a bit of a content warning. If you're sensitive to types of topics. And I don't have like a list of which ones he came on, but they're probably all within the last year or so, I would say, right? I think, if anyone wants like a background, but, John, go ahead, follow that up.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I was going to ask, do you see the light at the end of the tunnel, metaphorically? You feel
Literally.
like you're coming out of it?
Literally. I do, and there's a whole lot. I'll put it this way: there's a whole lot I can't share and I can't say for, like, to anyone. But what I've learned it's shifted my perspective radically, and it's given me kind of the confirmation that I've needed to keep going. And not just that, but also the understanding that things are about to rapidly improve. And, that's not something that I had for years. I'll put it that way. So, I literally can't say anymore.
Yeah,
but
cool.
but suffice to say, well, I don't know. Just coming out of a dark period. I think the world will be coming out of a dark period too, pretty soon. Because, Christ, COVID and hell, this year's been pretty fucking rough.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I could tell. It seemed like COVID, like the whole quarantine thing, made depressed people out of a lot of us. You just stay indoors all day and you get acclimated to it. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
how would you not get depressed, right? But I don't know. It seems like we're all kind of readapting to new life the way it was before that pandemic. So that's always good. Well, I was going to ask what's your line of work that you're looking into? Like what would be your dream job?
Energy
John,
engineering.
Can you get out of the atrium you're in?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Chase, I interrupted you.
I was gonna say my dream job, which, it's just not gonna happen for a while. But I'll never say never, to quote everybody's favorite bowl-cutted bedecked motherfucker who has way more popularity than he should. But I'd like to work on energy engineering because part of what I've done over the past year while I was busy dealing with shit was take a look at kind of old physics and shit and came to some horrifying conclusions about how delusional physics is and how fucked it is and why we don't have serious technology on Earth. And the answer is the physics are totally wrong and fucked up, but who am I to say? But suffice to say, I see that the future of this planet is you have to power civilization, and it cannot be with the memes that we have on this planet now. It cannot be fossil fuels. It can't be, boiling water with nuclear fission to turn a turbine. And it most certainly isn't going to be explosive mining, rare earth materials to put inefficient solar panels in people's homes. So it's got to be something serious. I'm hoping to work on maybe at some point later in life, nuclear fusion. There's a whole swathe of particle physics that are currently unavailable that I believe we will be discovering shortly, that will lead to things like, I don't know, actual superconductors as opposed to the fake one. I don't know how much you know about that LK99 sample or whatever. That's just, tip of the iceberg in terms of fake shit. But, that's what I hope to work on. And, I'm sure in terms of the weeds, Daniel can tell you everything, right? Because he actually works you still work at that nuclear power plant, right? Or did you move? Oh, wait, hang on.
I now work for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
So even better. You've leveraged into a cushy white collar job. Excellent.
Jeez, they're always hiring.
Save throne.
Yes. But anyway, so I would like to work in actually constructing serious energy technology, and I think that will require what I believe to be the imminent collapse of literally 100 years of physics, specifically the quantum theory, which is complete bullshit and has kind of straddled physics or kept physics from advancing for a very long time. So I'm looking forward to that. It's about timing on that one. Find a job until then because, we'll see. That's what I'd like to do. How about you guys?
Well, no, but before I was going to ask too. You said something about, what did you say about something being antiquated, like quantum physics or something?
Antiquated, I mean entirely wrong. Our predominant theory of...
What do you believe in? String theory?
No, it's bullshit too.
What do you believe in?
I believe that the particles first of all, we have yet to discover a whole class of fundamental particle of the universe. For example, neutrinos. We have discovered 3, what we call neutrinos, which are 3 different classes of particle that we have mislabeled neutrinos because we tried to fit them into what's called the standard model of particle physics, which is touted as the most beautiful, elegant, and successful physics theory in history, rather. And it's all bullshit because it's based on quantum field theory, and quantum field theory is total bullshit. And it's literally the result of experiments that did not understand what we were doing. And it's tragic because what it confirmed for me was when I took a look, when I was doing research at Tech and reading papers, and I was saying I didn't understand the jargon. What I didn't understand was the replicability crisis. I don't know how much you guys have looked into science here, but a lot of it is straight up fabricated. A colossal amount of physics research is fabrication.
Well, there are these biases where like people want a certain result and they kind of
money,
not even on purpose, but they kind of slightly end up finding data that, leads towards a certain conclusion, right? Like
no, John Roberts, you're giving. I appreciate the diplomatic take, but they're literally fabricating data in every major university. And the reason I know this is because I read these papers. When you do data analysis on, for example, there's a very famous one, not from physics, but recently, two actually ones that come to mind. One, there's the stem cell research that was able to discover induced pluripotent stem cells via adult stem cells, which is kind of a revolution in medicine because it means you could inject stem cells from an adult, induce them to become any tissue you want and heal anything.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, but yeah, sure. What was the study saying though?
No. The success of the story was that the researchers, this is a Japanese team, they were able to do it. They were able to actually show the data. They had like this stained mimeograph or lithograph, I don't remember what it's called, but a stained sample of watching the cells, do what they were doing, properly transform into the target stem cell. And that was a revolution because that was the first time it had happened. That was in 2014. And more recently, it was discovered that data were entirely fake. Everything about that was fake. And they were on fast track for Nobel, right? And so that's one example. Another example, and that's in biology, of course. I'm blanking on the other example that came to mind, but the stem cell one is just a huge example. And that's devastating for medicine because now, then there's like I forgot the diabetes medication that was, the Alzheimer's medication that was based on research from the 1980s, for which I think it was the head of the Stanford, president of, I forget who it was who resigned recently. It was like president of Stanford or some shit, because his research in the 1980s that got him, everything in his life was completely fabricated. And now, 40 years later, he was exposed for his Alzheimer's medication or the research that led to his Alzheimer's medication being fake. And so we literally killed Alzheimer's patients by providing a fake solution. We provided a shitty placebo to them based on decades of fake research. And so that got me into looking at a lot of the science, including my own field of physics, and it was devastating because, it's fake. It's when I say it's fake, I mean outright fabricated, not just you're biased. I mean lied, cheated, stolen, and literally printed in Nature and Science magazine. That's how deep this bullshit goes.
Well, okay, I'll put it this way. I think we need a good board of people with no, biases or people who are trustworthy to say, because it could easily go the other direction where a paper is considered to be like falsified data when in fact it is accurate data. I mean, it goes both ways. We need a regulatory body that is composed of people with the morals and the capability to say, okay, this is reasonable, this is not reasonable, this paper is tenable, or maybe not tenable. We can,
Right, well, that's called peer review. The problem is your peers are fake too.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
And the problem is the regulatory bodies are the academic institutions that are all compromised. I know I sound like a stark raving conspiracy theorist when I say that, but you need to read some of these papers and see some of the exposés that are coming out now from independent journalists on YouTube in particular, who are just eviscerating this shit. Because when you try, for example, let me get back to that LK99 sample. A couple of months ago, a Chinese team fabricated a sample, fabricated in the sense that they created it, where it was supposed to be a superconductor at room temperature. Now, that would be an engineering revolution. an alloy that could be literally, you could make like, let's say rail transit that is orders of magnitude more efficient than even the kind of hypersonic, or not hypersonic, but the high-speed rail technology that, let's say, the Japanese employ for their rail transit systems.
Bullet
Or
trains,
how about,
yeah,
bullet train squared, basically. How about, again, other material science applications for a room temperature superconductor? Again, the possibilities are limitless. That opens up a whole new, and indeed things that we don't even think about right now. Well, as it turns out, it was so obviously fake that even mainstream scientists were able, okay, hang on, let's try to replicate this in lab. And when they did, they were like, this does nothing approximating what this sample does. And so to answer to touch on what you were saying, the answer is, if you can repeat the experiment and it works, it must be at least partially real. Maybe there's some qualification to be had. The problem is there's so many papers being churned out by everyone who has a PhD is on a paper team, right? Like every PhD that's being awarded, there's at least one paper. And that's not counting your academic research after that. So the point is, who the hell is replicating all this shit? Zero, right? Unless it makes headline news. So the stem cell shit got replicated and turned out to be false years later. Same with the Alzheimer's drug, which had, pharmaceutical money behind it. So that was kind of suppressed. Then there's, medications, now I won't speak anymore on that because that one, I believe that's murder, but I won't say anymore because that goes into.
Which one? Sorry, I missed the word. Sorry, which one?
Fake medications, but again, that's a topic for a different day. Let me go back to science.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
But so the problem is we have a falsifiability crisis, not a replication crisis. These papers are trivial to falsify. The problem is there's no financial incentive for anybody in the system to falsify these papers because they're all part of the system. And it's such a small thing that it doesn't matter. And so my point is, coming from a physics perspective, right, what I learned about physics was the same crisis that exists in the modern time about that has existed in physics for decades. For example, relativity. I don't know if I've had the discussion. I think I had the discussion with whatever, but we've observed particles that move faster than light. They have mass, right? We have literally observed them in CERN. You cannot have particles that move faster than light under relativity. That should have been a groundbreaking, earth-shattering discovery that we made literally a decade ago when we were doing the Higgs boson research. But instead, that was rationalized as that's the group velocity of a particle, of a wave packet of particles. That was rationalized away. We found a massive particle, that means a particle with some non-zero mass, that moved faster than light in an experiment. That violates one of the fundamental postulates of relativity, which is our predominant astrophysical theory. And it is still our predominant astrophysical theory, despite the fact that it's completely wrong. And not wrong in the simple, trivial Newtonian case, where it's like this is a shallow approximation. I mean, fundamentally wrong in the sense that the fundamental postulate is wrong. And so,
well, how good were the measurement tools?
It's CERN. Like,
how reliable? Yeah, but
ultra precise.
CERN, like, say X, Y, or Z, organization. I mean, how do we know that their tools are good enough to be this precise, to be this accurate?
Because if they fuck up, they irradiate people. Like,
not necessarily.
Yeah. Because if you have a particle accelerator that you can't control tightly or measure shut, measurement results from having a tight control of the system. First of all, you're also dumping millions of dollars into the system and thousands of dollars every time you fire it. There's an incentive for you to get that right, especially because there's been accidents there before that resulted in issues. You know what I mean? So the measurement apparatus there is quite reliable because you're trying to find ultra fine, micro precise details of particle physics that you can't afford like a huge error bar on, because you're measuring at the Planck scale, right? You're measuring, or not at the Planck scale, but you're measuring at the subatomic scale.
Yeah, because the Planck scale would mean like you can't even measure it exactly. Right. But I'm saying are their measurement systems infallible though? No matter how much money goes into them, are they infallible?
No, but what I would say is that they are so precise that I take seriously the notion that if you discover something like that, it should be at least investigated. And it was simply rationalized away and hasn't been spoken of since.
Well, maybe so. I am curious to see what comes of all this stuff in the future because, there is so much that's going to happen in the next few decades, I'm sure, with science, right?
Indubitably.
Well, what do you look forward to the most in the future? Like, what is one of the
things that are
main
inevitable.
discoveries you would look forward to? No, but what are you most happy about? Like when you find a news headline that says, okay, this was solved or this has been discovered, what would you be most happy about though?
Actual technology that makes people's lives better. And I mean,
Yeah.
utilizing real physics, in the sense that we need to do away with quantum theory entirely. We need to do with relativity entirely. And we need to understand that in order to build these technologies, we can't be stuck in these old boxes because they're not going anywhere. And I think, honestly, one thing that I think is inevitable within a decade, hopefully sooner, is a serious spaceship. I'm not talking the, Saturn V rocket kind of spaceship. I'm talking a serious, well thought out spaceship using, let's say, anti-gravity, in principle what anti-gravity is, or utilizing serious engineering for a fuel source so that we can, leave this godforsaken rock once every now and then. Because, I don't know. That would be, I think that's inevitable. Because what I think is coming is a fundamental reset of science. Because we have hit the point where it just is not, we're about to have a serious, an explosion, I think, a revelation, if you will, about decades of fake shit. And it's already happening. It's already happening on the internet. It will be publicized soon, especially with more of those like LK99 fake things. And that will force a change in academia. That will force a change in research. And especially if it's democratized, which I think it will inevitably be, you will have people who can at least get real shit through fast enough that serious prototypes will be built, that serious technology will be built, and that people's lives will rapidly improve. Because we have all the materials on Earth to have things like, regenerative medical technology, and or serious space travel. The materials are all here. We've just been lost in the sauce of the physics for over 100 years. So if your fundamental theories are wrong, you'll never even know you can build this shit. Right? Or you think it's impossible.
Yeah, maybe so.
So that's, I think, inevitably coming within a few years. And then we'll see about the technology after that, but probably within a decade.
Well, that leads to this too. What do you think about the potential contribution of AI into this field?
I think AI right now is a joke.
Yeah, I do too, but
we don't have anything.
It seems to be growing at an exponential rate.
Right. It's limited by our computational technology, right?
Sure.
We do not have true AGI, right? And we won't have for a while because our computational technology is dog shit.
I know that's what we're looking for, right? Artificial general intelligence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What do you think would happen when that is the case, though? When we do find a way to implement that?
We make the Jetsons clean bots to make our lives better. So, AI is going to fold in with this. And I mentioned, I know in a prior episode of this, I was talking with Daniel about people have this they're terrified, like older people in particular, are utterly terrified of AI. I think it's going to control the country and the world. And, this is, it's delusion, right? A machine is not going to replace your job. A machine is going to automate the economy to where your job will be much more meaningful. That is inevitable. If you're worried about the AI taking over, take a look at your politics, take a look at your history, take a look at what's already ruling. Why are you afraid of your smartphone? Right? That's another That's another question. Because of all the AI that, the current AI that's used on your smartphone, it's just under the hood in a way, out of sight, out of mind, right? So all these people, and I understand why the fear is, right? Why it's there, because these people were raised on, I don't know, HAL 9000 from, 2001, Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
They've got this
Where they were
cultural,
talking about the evils of AI
right,
and like computer intelligence and all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Exactly.
ask anybody the age of 35 or younger, they're like, we should be automating everything. Our robots should be making things more efficient. We need this, and it's going to fold in with that, because think about when you have real, let's say, I'll say quantum tech for now, just because it's relative to the Earth, to kind of Earth physics at this time. But if you have the technology to literally use particles in a way that they're supposed to be used, that is, you can understand where they are in space and time, you can understand their momentum and their position exactly. You can build real, serious computational technology that is far more efficient than simply just being in what I call the electron box. Now, not that we're going to be ditching electronics, Christ, but and there's just a whole host of technology that will be open and available to us. So, and I think that's inevitable, because that's part of the revolution that's coming, right? Because again, we're about to expose how fake science has been. We're about to, question everything. Things are about to rapidly improve, because we will be stuck. We've been stuck for so long that they have to, right? At least that's my belief. Perhaps I'm delusional. I highly doubt that, though.
Well, there are groups with good intentions and great methods, and there are groups with the opposite. I mean, we have to weed them out. I don't think that better technology will necessarily change that fact. We have to weed out good studies from bad studies and figure out what to trust and what not to trust.
If it works, it works, right? That's how I'll start. Is something the best test of it is if you make something and it doesn't work, it sucks and is fake, or is at least or if it doesn't, that is at least a prototype that is getting in the right direction, or maybe there's something about it depends on if you're talking about like the research, then yeah, we should be scrutinizing everything. That's the ethos of science. That's at least what I grew up on. I read like David Hume and shit, and God, I'm sorry for telling you that, but I was into the philosophy of science from a young age, and words on the page, but I took it seriously. I took the Sagans and the fucking deGrasse Tyson seriously when they say question everything, and especially recently, it's been everything except science is working. Don't worry about it. And it turns out the field that needed the most questioning was science. So that's where I'm at. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if I were a part of that, like movement of we have to destroy the old to make the new, because I can literally diagram for you why, for example, there is no wave particle duality. That is a misunderstanding of fundamental physics that has existed for over 100 years from an experiment that did not get things fundamentally right. Right? And
sure.
How can this be? How can that be? Well, it's a simple error, and yet it built the Schrodinger. I mean, it led to the Schrodinger equation. It led to de Broglie. It led to the understanding that you cannot know where a fucking electron is around the nucleus. You should see the probability functions for that motherfucker. Useless. And that affects our chemistry. We don't understand how things bond properly, because our theory of, let's say, quantum chemistry is total bullshit. So it's a failure cascade is what it is. And I would love to do this, and this can be pushed back at first, but the inevitable march of reality will go forward.
John, are you trying to say something?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really sure how to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how to follow that up.
I mean, I just go random places on this podcast. I don't, you know, time's moving forward. You know, shit's gonna happen one way or another.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, okay. The last thing I'll say is, did you mention the Schrodinger, like, electron cloud model?
Yes.
Do you feel that it's, like, inaccurate or, I don't know, like,
One second.
how would you describe it?
Not only is the Schrodinger model of the atom, well, really, it's more precisely a model of one-dimensional and then three-dimensional time evolution of a particle.
Sure.
It's mechanics, like the Newtonian equivalent being like F equals ma. Not only is it fundamentally wrong, it is so wrong that it led people to a delusion about the subatomic world that has kept our civilization in chains. I cannot describe to you right now precisely why that statement makes sense, but think about it this way. If we knew precisely, or if we understood that you can know precisely the location of an electron or a positron, which is also a quantum mechanical particle described by a wave function, Schrodinger. I'll just say Schrodinger, right? Or perhaps the nucleus of an atom, which has a more massive but still quantum mechanically influenceable or quantum mechanical particle, the proton, the neutron. These fundamental particles that we say once they are in space, right? You cannot know where they are exactly and know their momentum exactly simultaneously. But think if we could.
Sure.
All of a sudden, now we can have precise nuclear engineering, right? Now we know how to direct particles. We know where they are. We can understand that we can build technology to now that's the hard part. Part of the problem is the technology is behind the fucking times because our physics have just assumed for decades, well, you can't know the two. It's literally Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, right? You can't know the two. And so you're not even trying, right? That's the devastating reality of the Schrodinger equation is it's defeatist. Is you don't even try because you can't know, and that's the fundamental of the theory. So why bother? That's why there's there's no nuclear.
I have to imagine, right? If I can say this, I have to imagine that people for probably a century really, 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 really want to know both at the same time.
Right.
And despite their best efforts, the most intelligent people of our entire human race have not been able to do that. And I don't think that's because of the fact that, research culture is flawed or anything like that, but it's like some things are unknowable without the proper technology and
Indeed.
the proper methods. Right?
Nail on the head. Right? We do not have subatomic technology. Right? We have the ability to direct subatomic particles in a primitive way, and that should have led us to a different conclusion. But understandably, considering the historical context,
what conclusion should it have led us to?
Building technology that allowed us to observe a system without interfering in it, which means you have to utilize other particles. Other than,
what if that's impossible, though?
It is not, because
I'll
put it this way.
Yeah. See, how do you know? Do you have any research papers?
Well, I'll put it this way.
You know?
Right? How do I know? I'll take a lucky guess. I'll say that, you think of like, I don't know, like an alien spaceship for a moment, right?
Sure.
That fucker is going to be flying around the galaxy with some sort of energy tech and traveling faster than light, right? Shouldn't that be possible? That's the fundamental question I would start with. Is that not possible?
Are you talking about tachyons, like things that can only travel past the speed of light and not slower?
No, I'm talking about a spaceship.
Well, yeah, but okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying that where I want to end up is, I want to ask the question because we have to tear down the old to build the new. I'm simply asking the question or when the question is posed to me, is that possible to know with certainty, like position and momentum? My answer is, I don't know yet, but I strongly suspect the answer is fuck yes, and I'm going to dedicate time to proving that to be right. Perhaps I waste my life. Oh well. But I'm so confident in that conclusion, considering how fucking wrong the Schrodinger equation is. I will, bet serious money that very soon we'll discover that's the case. At least that's what I'm banking on. Now, I might be proven wrong. I might be, we'll see how long it takes. But I highly doubt that I'm wrong. I'll put it that way.
Sure. And hey, I respect you for that. It would be very hard for me to go against an entire field and be like, okay, I'm going to do this and whatever you say, you can kiss it,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the main physicists that we know might have done that at some point. So,
Well, they did. A lot of serious science was generated by iconoclasts. It's just those are censored.
Exactly.
Now. Those are not awarded PhDs. If, for example,
Sure.
you said not Boltzmann. I don't know. See, let's think about Michael Faraday. He supposedly didn't know algebra 2, and yet he came up with induction. Do you think he would be taken seriously in a modern university? No, you don't have a PhD. You're working with some cringe in your lab in your basement. You don't matter. That's a fundamental issue with science: is that it's credentials. It's credentials. It's politics. It's bureaucracy. And that's my other issue is not just the fake science, but the fakers at the top. You have a president of Stanford resigning because his research was fake for 4 decades, and he had the goddamn temerity to tell people for years, because he was on PhD advisory committees. He said, no, your research sucks. Look at mine, right? And shit like that. It's politics, it's bureaucracy, and that has to be challenged. And the problem is, how dare you, right? Look at what modern science has achieved. And I say, okay, bet it should be better. There's a famous physicist, I think it was Sean Carroll. I don't know. Could be someone else. Who's a physics professor. But a bunch of people got together on a video. This is a decade ago. I saw this on 60 Symbols, actually. And the title of the video is Quantum Mechanics, an Embarrassment. And I didn't understand it at the time, but all these physicists who have practiced quantum theory for decades get together, and there's 6 different interpretations. There's whatever. And we don't know what the fuck we're doing with any of them. Right? And that's our subatomic physics right there. If famous physicists or current, maybe not famous, well, internet famous, I don't know if that counts. I don't think it does. But if these people are sitting there saying the physics is fundamentally wrong, then, or they're implying that it's fundamentally wrong because it's embarrassing, we can't do anything with it. It's been 80 years at that point, and we haven't done shit with it, right? Then what the weakness of the theory is betrayed in the fact that it's produced nothing of value for our civilization. I'll put it that way. All of modern engineering is Newtonian and you can say Maxwellian, right? In the sense that we have cars, electricity, and then there's some thermodynamics in there, right? So you think of, your Boyles, you think of your Boltzmanns, people like that. All of that is, at least there's some truth to the theory, right? Because we've used it to build practical shit that works. That in fact, flies people from point A to point B. In the case of like an airplane. Or in the case of, a nuclear power plant, we can split the atom, boil water with it, and turn a turbine, right? We can at least do something. And by the way, splitting the atom is Newtonian. And actually, it's not just Newtonian, it's EMAG and Newton, right? That's all it is you collide particles, and then you have a breeder reaction. Actually, let me shut the fuck up. Daniel would know this better than I do. Let me not embarrass myself. But essentially, it's a chain reaction that you don't even need to. It's collision physics. It's overcoming a Coulomb barrier, right? So that doesn't even require quantum theory to explain, right? So there's something fundamentally flawed that is keeping technology from progressing, and it's our physics, right? And that's an inevitable conclusion when you see all this fake research.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. John, is this too much for you? Are you overloading? Uh, is
Nah.
John, so for reference, Chase, John's whole job is just looking at people's ears and stuff. So I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent. Oh, what do you do?
I'm trying to become a doctor.
Oh, nice. Well, I come from a medically oriented family, so God help you, but good luck.
Yeah, it sucks. Who in your family was a doctor?
Nobody in my family is a doctor. It's just they were either nurses or NPs or, um, you know, glorified. I don't know. My father was a
Oh,
chiropractor, which I
gotcha.
don't consider medicine at all. But
Yeah, gotcha.
anyway, um, but yeah. So no, and medicine is. You should hear if you like my science rants. You should hear my mother's rants on medicine and the pitiful state that medicine's in. Considering she worked in, well, she worked as an basically the head nurse. She worked her way up to like floor manager or whatever the fuck. That's not the correct title, but she was in charge of the
No,
whole ER
I know what
for a
you
while
mean. Yeah, I know
as a
what you
nurse.
mean.
So she knows her shit, and medicine is a joke, especially post COVID. And so that's also medical science, and I've already expounded enough on that bullshit, so I'll leave that there. But yeah, no, good luck to medical and medical school. That's a real bitch, and I wish you success on that.
Yeah. Thanks, man. It's tough. It is tough. A lot of memorization. It's like college, like second round, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, we can end it there then. I mean, we started late, but was there anything else you guys wanted to cover, either John or Chase?
If it just John, if you want to do anything, or I didn't mean to kind of monopolize the podcast, but
No, you're
that's
fine.
I suppose just these issues that have become more passionate to me over time. But yeah, I've said my piece for now.
Okay, well, thank you both for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, Daniel.